zitombe zitiliza utano izole zitombe zitiliza utano awuzwe izole zitombe zitiliza utano izole zitombe zitiliza utano bayamemeza laba bantu bayamemeza laba bantu memeza laba bantu bathi nasi simanga ngale zitombi bayamemeza laba bantu bayamemeza laba bantu memeza laba bantu bathi nasi simanga ngale zitombi wetabatiliga
Tonight, we are looking at a very significant subject: gender equity and rights of women in Africa. Ever since I started reading about this particular subject, Rwanda in Africa is always in every search engine. And I'm tempted to believe that here in Africa, Rwanda stands tall among all the African countries as far as gender issues are concerned. But wait, I have very experienced resource persons here tonight who are going to help us delve into this all-important subject. We have in our midst Madame Araba Dennis. She is the Executive Director of African Women International. You're welcome, Madam.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing good.
Very, very good.
We also have here Mr. Kofi Mafo. He is a counselor. He works at the University of Cape Coast and is also a member of African Women International. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I trust you are doing good.
The divine selection has picked us.
Amen. And also all the way from the UK, we have Mrs. Naima Ahmed Bedu. She's the the founder of Africa's Alternative Energy Initiative. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Good.
I hope you didn't run away because of the weather.
I reserve my comment.
So we are taking a short break. When we come back, my guest here would be helping me unravel the mystery surrounding gender and gender-related issues in Africa. I'll be right back. So you're welcome back. This is Global Dialogue, and we are live on Ahunka 99.5 FM here in Elmina, and also on Ocean One Television, also from the Republic of Elmina. You can also watch this program live on Facebook wall of Ocean One TV, and also on Ahunka 99.5 FM on Facebook. Now, to the issue, gender equity. Let me start with you, Auntie Araba. When we say gender equity, what exactly do we mean?
Okay. But first of all, I want us to have a look at gender itself.
Okay.
What is gender? Let's ask ourselves, what is gender? When we talk of gender, there's this woman, Kate Young, who says something like, gender is that of, I don't want to go, let me calm down. When you talk of gender, we are looking at the masculinity and the femininity.
Male,
For that matter, male-female issue.
Okay.
Yeah. But most of the time, when you talk of gender, we look at only the woman. We are talking about
Why
both
do
sexes.
you think that is the situation?
We will
That
get
when we
there.
hear gender, we think about women.
I would say woman has been left behind for so long. That is why we always look at the woman. And we talk about the equity. We want the fairness to play here.
Okay.
Yeah. When you talk of gender, most of the time the leadership position, every leadership position, we see men taking lead of it.
Especially in Africa?
Everywhere. It's
Okay.
globally.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
Okay.
And that is why in your intro you made mention of Rwanda. I love using Rwanda because it seems they are always ahead of us. Why? Because they've made provision for that. African, for that matter, Ghana, we can also do it for our women to attain that position. But where do we see our women? We are always lacking behind.
Is that so?
Sure, you can see it. Wherever you find any
You
position.
have 2 females, 1 male.
He also come in. I love him so much. He come in. You see? When you close your eyes and you open from politics
Okay.
or the leadership roles, most of the roles are played by men. And we are talking about fairness here, that when you talk about it, they will say, oh, we've given the woman the position to go ahead. Is there any provision made for that? When you talk of Rwanda, they've assigned some roles for women. When it comes to parliament, there are some positions that it's only women who will vie for.
We'll be coming there to the Rwandan example. But so when we talk about gender, we are referring to both male, female,
Sure.
masculine, feminine. Thank you for that foundation. Mr. Mafo,
Yes.
I want to take your thought on this.
Gender is an interesting topic, and I'm always enthused, and sometimes I become a bit sad when I'm talking about gender.
Why?
Why? Because we all seem to be religious. We know that procreation is done by women. Okay, God created, but procreation is done by women. And yet, we seem to forget that without that arduous task given to one part of the 2 sexes, we won't even be living. And I've taken my time to look at whether I'm not blaspheming, but I've taken my time to look at whether God made a mistake somewhere, somehow. But in all the scriptures, I've looked at the Quran, I've looked at the Bible, I've looked at Bhagavad Gita. You know Bhagavad Gita?
What religion is that?
That is the Hindus, their holy book.
Okay.
And in all that, God placed woman at a very centralized and sensitive place, such that He, God Himself, knows that without the woman being there, procreation will not take place. In all the books, in all the religious books, even when you come to our own tradition, it is there. And yet, somehow, somewhere, we seem to leave one part of what we call gender behind. And gender, like Aunt Araba was telling you, you see, God gave us sexes. Now I'm coming to give the differences between sex and gender.
Okay.
Sex is the biological makeup of man and a woman, female a male. You can talk of the genitals, you can talk of your voice, you can talk of the beard of the man, you can talk of ears. That is sex. You can talk of the woman, the breast, you can talk of the genitals, which are very distinct from that of a man. Okay? But gender is roles that society has ascribed to what or who a man is and who or what a woman is.
Society
Society is a notion. A notion. And that is why when you look at gender roles, it is not universal. Even in Ghana, when you go to Upper West, gender roles are different from Fanti here.
I see.
Yes, it's so different. When you go to the Igbo land in Nigeria, it's so different from the Yorubas. And they have mythologies that explains it. So gender is something that we have carried it out and is choking us to death. It is not natural. And that's why we keep on saying that with conscious effort, we can do away with them because it's not helping us. It is not. Gender separates human beings, so to speak. Gender divides human beings.
Human beings.
Yes.
And put them in their respective class, isn't it?
And put them
Because
in an awkward position.
If you are referring to religious sects,
Yes.
Islam, for instance, has its own definition of
Good.
what the role of women is. When it comes to Christianity, it also defines the role of women. In fact, some Christian denominations do not allow women to play lead roles. What about that?
But you know-
Because the religious sects do not
Unfortunately,
ascribe certain roles.
unfortunately, I think Madam will talk about the Islamic side, but I have looked at and I know that what we pick is still the notion that we pick. It is not religious. You see, in the story of creation in the Bible, when you look at Genesis 1, even going up to 3, Genesis chapter 1 up to 3, read it carefully. When God created everything, brought Adam, and God, not me or a pastor or somebody saying, said that all that he has said, he has done, was so nice, but it was not complete. I mean, God, in his own infinite wisdom, says that what I did was not complete. And so it was expedient to bring a woman. And in fact, scientifically, it's not been realized or proven that our earlier forefathers, we said they were nomadic in nature. They were hunting and searching and looking for food. But about 60 to 80% of the food that people were eating that were surviving us were discovered by women. Men were hunting, yes. But food, as we have now, were discovered by women.
Is there any literature to support?
Oh, yes. There are so many of them. And you go to the Encyclopedia Britannica, there is a document that was produced by AU at Cairo in 2016.
You mean the African Union?
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, they had a charter based on that. Because they have realized that even as we speak, food that we consume is still made by women. Men are into agronomy, industrialization, and so the food that we eat, about 80% is still produced by women.
I see.
So when we say that it is not, let me even quote Boutros Ghali. He said that he was a former UN Secretary General.
Yeah.
He said that women issues are human issues.
Okay, I'm going to come to that. But before I move to Naima, does it mean that this thing we refer to as the Ministry for Gender, Children and Social Protection, we need to work on the name?
Well, you see,
The name.
I am.
This is not politics, but
I'm tempted to say that it is not a name that works.
Okay.
Now, we often talk about Rwanda, you know, because they have, I mean, in totality, used women, brought the human nature of the two sexes to produce magic in African standard. But when you look at a document produced by SADC, South African Development Corporation, in 2013, they have made a conscious effort to bring in gender equity into everything that they do. So the resemblance is what we are seeing in Rwanda. But in all the South African countries, they have conscious effort, not just allies, operationalize the allies, and it's working. Say that when you go to the ministries, when you go to corporations, even foreign corporations that are working, bilateral, international bodies working there, they recognize it.
I see.
So it's not just about having a ministry, calling a gender. No, it is about the operationalization of that ministry.
I see.
And we don't have that. We are yet to get there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mafo. Let me move to Mrs. Naima Beidu. You're welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
I know you spent part of your life here in Ghana and then elsewhere. When it comes to gender issues, especially in Africa, how do you think the world out there sees us in Africa relative to gender?
Della, thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers.
And listeners.
Thanks for that. I think the conversation from how we've been able to juxtapose the whole argument. I need to go back to your original question, where you ask, what is equity? Because the truth is, when you start the whole conversation of women, there is a whole mishap or kind of interchanging of, are we really fighting for equity or equality? Because at every point in time, it depends on what you are looking for.
Okay, so let's break that lesson between equity and equality.
So equity is purely about fairness. Being able to give someone the opportunity to be able to succeed. So for example, between both of us, you as a man and myself as a woman, what can you give to both of us to be able to succeed in an equal environment without any kind of hindrance to both of us? Take that same scenario. Assuming I'm dyslexic and you are a brilliant chap. When you then talk about equity, it wouldn't favor both of us.
Not at all.
Because at that point, probably I can't read, but I'm very good in other departments, which probably you are not. So when we start the whole conversation of women equity or equity for women within our socio-political environment, we then have to look at what exactly are we looking for fairness for the very people we are dialoguing for. I'll give another example where, as much as we are all crying for women need to do this, women need to be that, have we been able to put these two sexes on the same par, where if I give a man a pen and give a woman a pen, would they be able to survive in the same kind of environment? Put the same scenario in a developed country. Then I come back to the question that you asked us. In the developed country, what most women are fighting for is not the same. And I really appreciate the kind of example Mr. Mafu gave, that what is going on in northern Ghana, the kind of, how do I say it, responsibility of women within northern Ghana may not be the same within southern Ghana. And looking at it on a global level, what women within UK are fighting for is not the same as what women within Afghanistan are fighting for.
I see.
So we need to break the whole conversation down to know within the Ghanaian continent, within the Ghanaian context, what are we fighting for?
Even in the Ghanaian context, as you said, within various zones.
What are we looking for?
I see.
Because the women within Greater Accra, what they are asking for is not the same as the women within the northern sector of Ghana. I'll give a clear example. There is female genital mutilation. It doesn't happen within southern Ghana. It does happen within northern Ghana, right? There is the whole conversation on women trafficking. it may not be happening within northern Ghana, but then it will be happening within the Broahave on the western side of Ghana.
And you go to the Volta region, it is Trokosi system,
is the whole so
which is also not happening in
exactly
in
so
other parts of
culture, societal perception, societal conversation come within the whole dialogue of equity and then equality for women. So then again, when I think I did smile a bit when Mrs. Dennis said something along the line, tried to define gender. And then what came to mind is 21st century, there isn't even a conversation around gender because there is a whole shift as to men trying to advance into being, as we speak now, probably a man is trying to get 33D breasts, whilst a woman is trying to get a whole look to look like a man.
Amen.
So the conversation is shifting. The whole conversation is shifting. So again, we need to go back to the drawing table. What exactly are you asking for? What exactly do you want as a woman? And I think this year within UK is 100 years of suffragettes, 100 years of women being able to vote. Mind you, within certain parts of the African continent, some women are still do not have the rights to vote. Again, on the same level, when you compare the developments of women within the African continent, we are somehow far advanced in certain notions, even than some developed countries. And I'm happy you talked about Rwanda. The policies in place that do push Rwanda women to be able to aspire into political positions, social, political positions, the corporate world and everything. There isn't a conversation of equality, or should I say, it's a matter of after equity, what next? Because they've tested it over the years and they know that if we give the opportunity to women, they will be able to move us far. And I'm quite happy when you Google the whole conversation, equity, women equity, then Tete Kwashi's famous quote comes in. It's not only within the African context.
Dr. Agri.
Exactly. Where if you educate a man, it's been tried and tested over the years that if we look at the normal denominancy of a man will marry a woman, and if you have an educated woman who is more discerning, more knowledgeable, she will be able to reason with you to build your home. Unlike a woman who, by the time you come home, will be washing your laptop within the sink, have no clue what to build or what to do with the basis of what you give her, then there is a problem.
I see. Now, there is that argument, taking the Rwanda and the US example. I am told that in the US, for instance, they were able to get a lot of women in there some time back, because during the Second World War, the men went to fight and they died. So there were a lot of women, and so they realized that they have to give them the opportunity. The same applies to the Rwandan situation, where the men were killed, and so it was left with women and children. So obviously you give that opportunity to the women. But then the difference is that Rwanda consciously made it a policy, whereas unlike the US, they did not do that. So would you say that had it not been for the genocide, Rwanda would not have given that opportunity to their women? Because they had no other choice.
No, I'll say no.
Because before the genocide in 1994, we didn't hear of this women empowerment and the success story of Rwanda. We never heard this.
Before I answer that question and the whole scenario of Rwanda, there is a conscious effort for Rwanda to move from where they were historically to a position where they are not looked at as a disadvantaged country.
Because they didn't have a choice.
You get it.
They didn't have a choice.
See, when you are pushed through fire,
okay,
you either make or break.
Okay.
So Rwanda positioned itself to make, where Paul Kagame is trying to move the whole sphere of, oh, we don't want to be identified as a country that went through genocide. We want to be identified as a superpower within Africa. henceforth, we are not going to keep leaning back to our past to say, oh, you did this to me. And I think that is the kind of problem we have within our country. We are so leaning within our past of, we did this, Nkrumah did, and so what? What can you do? Because look, you're talking about Rwanda going through genocide and they not being able to have enough resources, and hence the only people they could fall on were women. Go back into history and look at what Nkrumah did. During the parliamentary era, Nkrumah created about 10 seats for women to come into parliament.
I've been trying to have this affirmative action bill. I will get to that.
You see, we have every documentation for all these kind of dialogue, and it seems this is what we are good at doing. We have all the good documents, we have all the policies, and then we fail to implement. Go to Google right now and then type in the very topic that we are discussing. There are documents upon documents upon documents from the African Union to the United Nations. Then the question is, if we have all these documents to support our argument, to say in 2017 we did this, every year we are doing something, but we are still at the same point, then it means there is something wrong with us. There is something wrong with our ability of reasoning.
I see this discussion opening my mind to a different era, that we are putting people in positions who are not sensitive to what brings development. Now, taking women out of the equation, especially in Africa, would you say, Mr. Mafu, that has really retarded our development? Would you agree?
Even before I come to that, you asked a question earlier, and we were talking about the Rwandan issue. Okay. So, Rwanda.
Yeah.
We have come from war. Men are dead. They said, let's use women. And we are citing them profusely everywhere as a success story.
It's a very
why
sad
can't we?
situation.
Yes, but why can't we follow them? You understand what I mean? I mean, the point is,
learn in Ghana.
So I think,
it really doesn't even matter whether they came to learn from Ghana or not. The point is that there is a standard that has been set.
Okay.
And take it or leave it, they are developing. So what stops us from also learning from them? Do we have to go to war before we say women are...
Probably that is what we are waiting for.
I'll give you this example. 2010.
Okay.
I met Paul Kagame and the wife.
Okay.
We had been nominated to go for African Youth Parliament in the UK. And within the whole, I think we were just two young people. And that was the time that Rwanda was being reaccepted into Commonwealth.
Okay.
So he had come for them to have the whole ceremony. So as young as we were just following the show. And in fact, we didn't even recognize he was president of Rwanda. Because when you talk about presidents of countries, to be honest with you, Rwanda doesn't even come on the page. It's like meeting, I won't even say Trump. It's like meeting, say, president of France and president of Congo at a ceremony. Naturally, your instincts will be moving to the one who attracts more. And then we just bumped into it. So, what are you young kids doing here? And so we've been accepted, having this kind of conversation instead of. He just advised us, and because we did not regard him as a president of a country that we will be discussing today, we even the kind of contact he gave us, we threw away. We weren't even interested. And 8 years down the line, Paul Kagame is everywhere. Everybody wants to have a conversation.
And quoting from him.
Everybody is quoting him. So it then becomes a very sad situation where what went wrong and what did not go wrong.
I see. Good. Mr. Mafu, continue.
Now the development issue. I sometimes ask myself even what is development in the context of the European Union or in the context of the Americans. What is development? And development has a lot of perspectives. The economists use GDP. When your GDP is high, it means you are developing. Rostock has some 8 levels of development. So what is development in Africa?
We'll be limiting, for the sake of this discussion, we'll be limiting ourselves to health, education, economy, and probably politics.
Great. They all have their perspectives.
Yeah.
Health, politics, they all have their perspectives on development. But probably we are seeing development as moving forward positively from where you were.
Of course.
Okay. So establishing that fact or that base, then let's move forward. Now, how do you think of going forward when, let's say, she made allusion to returning from work and seeing your wife washing your laptop in water because she doesn't know? So how do you develop when half of you is so ignorant, is so seen to be like still in the nomadic era? It's still seen like timid. It's still seen to be like there are some adjectives that are probably it won't be palatable to use it, but that is how you use in describing the other half of us. Okay. Now, if you want to develop, I always ask a question like, when you go into the bathroom, you take your bath, you bath half of your body, then you come to your room, you pomade that half, you wear a dress that covers that half, and you step out. How will people see you?
You are so stupid.
It will go beyond that. You are mad. If you are in Cape Coast, they'll send you to Ankafu because you are mad. But unfortunately, that is how
that's the reality
we are doing. That is the reality today. When you go into history, development of nations has never been exclusive to men. We talk of US, the UK. UK can be excused, but even UK, there are historical antecedents to women participation even through the World War. World War II, if they hadn't gotten women who were trained to be bilingual and infiltrated into the enemy's camp, they wouldn't have been anywhere.
We're told in Cape Coast the women went naked, marched to the castle, and that was what saw the exit of the...
Seriously.
So they played a role.
They played a role, but how have we recognized that?
No woman's name is mentioned when we talk about
it. It's never mentioned. No woman's name is mentioned because of this gender stereotype that we have.
Okay, so let's come back to these traditions in Africa.
Yes.
Those traditions that place women as second-class citizens. Can you help us identify a few of them?
Yes, let's we even start from Ghana. There's a story about the Yoruba in Nigeria.
Okay.
They have a mythology that talks about creation. And they said Ogun, that is the god, their god, Ogun, had 8 children. Only one was a female. Then the 7 children, the 7 sons, decided to share the properties of Ogun and left the woman. And their thinking was that they can govern. But that single woman made their governance system so ungovernable that later they all collapsed and she took over and continued with creation until we came to be. That is Yoruba mythology. When you go to Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe had a similar mythology where even the son of the god died and left the woman. And the woman is the one who built the world as we see it now. In fact, according to their mythology, God vomited the sun, the sun, and it was so hot that it took the daughter who was left to calm the sun down. You know, so even when you come to Ghana, let's come home to Ghana. If you are with the traditional authorities, they will tell you at the thick of events in decision making, when they are locked up, what they say is that let's go and consult Abrowa.
Who
Who is Abrowa?
That old lady.
Good. So you see, our tradition never discriminated against women. They really recognize them. That without a woman, you can't move forward. So, I mean, I have done a lot of research.
Or where are we missing it?
Exactly. That is the question that I've been trying to.
You've enumerated a few, examples. Where did we miss it?
That is what I have been trying to find out, and I have not succeeded because, like, there is a Yoruba proverb which says that until the animals develop a historian, all the stories from the jungle will favor the hunter. And all the stories of mankind's development has been written by men. And so women, like you say, women's name have never been mentioned. You read histories of Africa, women, you only get to hear a woman's name when the woman go on to do something
extra
that the men sit down and marvel. That's when
even that we refer to some as witches.
As witches,
because they have ventured into a territory which is the preserve of men.
So where did we go wrong? Because the world itself was structured by God and the principles of womanhood.
I see. Mr. Mafo has been very optimistic when it comes to some of the traditional norms that made women second-class citizens. That's what I asked. But he wanted to be very optimistic. Help me. What are some of the other ones that you think are detrimental to the development of women in Africa?
You know what? Let's come to our own home.
Okay.
The family.
In recent times. Okay.
Yes. Our own household. You are there with your wife and the children. At times there are some decisions that the family takes. Most of the decisions come from the wife.
Most of the decisions come from the wife.
The ideas that you get to implement what you want to do.
Can you give me 1 minute to think about this?
Oh, that's one day. You don't need to think about it at all.
Look at the perspective where the woman is the neck. Think if you can turn the head without the neck.
We are the head of the
family.
It's just here.
Unfortunately, there is no, how do you call it, literature that support the fact that the women are the neck. So,
Mr. Mafo gave a very beautiful adage that until the animals within the forest decides to write their own story, the story that is left will continue to glorify the hunter. So until we find our voice to write our story, men will continue to
and make yourselves as the neck. Let the world accept
it's not lighter. I'm not taking it lightly. You see, it's incontrovertible. Nobody has gone anywhere to rebut it that men are the heads of
that position we give to you. We are not even considered.
But at least try and give us some.
Give us the neck. We are staying.
Not the neck. We are not comfortable with the neck. You see,
so you become a feminist.
From no. I'm a gender man. From the head to the toe, men take the head. So let's see whether from the neck to the toe, which is for the woman, you, the man, can function with this hand. This hand, just this thumb. There's a vein here. When you cut, and it takes some, you are not lucky to get assistance. It will dull your head, some part of the brain, and what you call a man will not be there again. And so if you are the head of the family, and from the neck down to the toe belongs to another person, then you have to think about what you do.
Thank you very much. And Sarah, so the homes, most of the decisions we make come from women.
From women, but we are not trying to say that, we will take that leadership role from the core family. But just give us a little credit. Recognize our contribution. This is all what we are asking for. We are not coming to take the leadership role from you. A little credit will push us there. Let's look at our chieftaincy issues. Who installs chief?
And it's not just Ghana.
It's not just Ghana.
And the women, we call them queen mothers. I don't know where we get that English from.
Well,
What is that?
When you go into the etymology of who a queen is, it is what we have loosely termed as choosing chiefs. I mean, they are custodians of tradition.
So shouldn't it be king mothers?
Because
Mothers.
because it
So
was
they are mothers of
it
queens.
was taken by a man. It is men who wrote it. I mean, it's
Okay.
it comes from the Greek
Okay.
down to us here. Okay. Now, even if we are to loosely say they are the mothers of kings.
King mothers.
Okay. So, if a king is so popular, then who made the king popular? That's why we don't ask ourselves. But then you look at the queen in traditional terms. I like the history of the Yoruba and the Igbos. You know, there is something that they give to women, and yet they seem to be so afraid to bring it to the fore.
What is that?
India, you know, they call, before the Arabs came to the northern part of Nigeria, Maiduguri and all those places, Nigeria was ruled by women, and it's so interesting. It was ruled by women in their clans, like we have here Ebusia. They were all headed by the women, and the reason was that if you want to know the path to where you can get food to survive, you have to consult the woman. And so all the paths that lead to where you can survive, where water is and all that, is women who know where they are. And so it's the women who were controlling communities, they were controlling the clans and the rest. Now, in trying to colonize us, we transported power in relationships to men, because all those who came from Azambuja's time to those who got lost in the Cape Town province there, and they became the white Africans in South Africa, they were all men. And so they seem to say that, okay, let's give power to the men. So until that time, until colonization, women were not held as we hold them now.
I see. Now let's come into our present times and how some of our traditions and cultures are affecting women. Anteraba.
Yeah, with that I'll go to the gender rules.
Okay.
When we look at the rules, we talked about gender. We didn't say women's role.
Okay.
We said gender, implying that it's for both sexes. Yes. Obika Bibi said, Oba nuya ebi, bema so nuya ebi. What is that? It means the man can do this, a woman can also do this, and we move forward. In a family where you've given position to a woman, you see that everything moves on smoothly, and there's peace in that home, because the man recognizes the woman's position, the woman also recognizes, so there's respect there. Oh, my wife will do this, my wife did this, oh, my husband did this. There's peace. But whereby you assign role to, oh, this woman, my wife, you cannot do this. No, this you can't do it. Then you are pushing the woman behind. You are not giving her the room to operate, to do what she can also do to help the family.
I see. Naima, help us. Have you identified some of the norms within, especially the African setup, where women are regarded as second-class citizens?
I think that's the problem that we have now from the whole conversation.
I see.
And I think whilst the conversation was going on, we asked, so what went wrong? because years back, that wasn't how it was. Women were regarded in certain spheres, they had certain responsibilities, and then they were respected. Some years down the line, society decided to really look at the position of women. And that has been embedded in our whole thinking process to the extent that even when we know that a woman can do this, society says, no, you can't do it.
It's not your role.
It's not your role. So we have been conditioned in such a way that we limit ourselves unknowingly. And I'm saying this emphatically, unknowingly. Look at the corporate sector. And I've been a victim in such areas where you're working in a male-dominated area. Nobody is even asking you to prove yourself, but then the fact that you find yourself in certain areas, you are doing times 2 of your work just to prove your worth. Nobody is telling you, but then per the actions of the very people around you, you're putting societal pressures on yourself that because I'm a woman, I have to prove myself. Because I'm a woman, I have to do this. Because I'm a woman, I have to dress this way, I have to talk this way, I have to be respectful. And by automation, it bounces back to us. Look at the whole conversation of patriarchal cultures. Which people enforces it? It's women. We are looking at the Chokosi, we are looking at the Gambaga witch camp. Which people are there? Unknowingly, women are the custodians of all these cultures. And that is the irony of the conversation. The very things that hurt us, women are used as pawns to operate them. So in 21st century, what then happens? How do we position ourselves where a woman and a man goes to work per default and their expertise, they work comfortably without anyone pressurizing anyone, without we going back to the drawing table to say, because you are a woman, I'm going to pay you less than a man. And that is what is happening within the developed world, where the whole conversation is on the pay gap, fair payment for women. When you have women with, say you have a man and a woman with master's degree doing the same kind of work, and a man is paid higher than a woman.
I heard a story of Kagame. Alenti gave a certain amount of money to men, separately women, and you were sharing that story with me. So interesting. And let's look at education, especially, and how the genders, play out here. We have certain subjects which are considered the preserve of men, the science, the maths, for a very long time. In Ghana, for instance, it got to a point we have to come out with music, send a girl child to school because we knew the kitchen was for the female child. That is what I want to find out. How did we get to those?
I wanted to trickle the conversation from the corporate world right through the health system and then back to the educational sector.
Okay.
And the reason why I was trying to let us understand what is happening within the corporate world to what we are positioning ourselves, the kind of pressures that we are allowing the system to put on us, through to how we need to be able to bounce back. You're talking about the education, how certain subjects being for men and women, and the simple reason had been, initially we weren't even allowing the women to go to school. They had to cook, they had to take care of the home, so they see science and math as a subject that is so daunting that you can't combine such a daunting subject to you managing a home and then doing all these tedious jobs. So having two tedious components, we assume, you're already tired, so do something that is so easy that you can easily combine with the kind of work you are doing home. Funny enough, we do identify that the work within the household is difficult, and because of that, we don't want to add on top of a very tedious job for a woman.
I see.
So let's give her something lighter, so that even if she is able to manage the home, she will still be able to do this, and then we can all be happy, all smile.
And that is a societal.
That is the societal thought.
And in the secondary schools, for instance, subjects like home economics.
Because you are
and
cooking
then,
very well
you
in the
move on
house.
to medicine.
It's funny, you know.
Medicine, home
Exactly.
economics. It's for the women.
Exactly.
Why is that?
It still bounces back to, this is how we see you as a woman. And because we see you as a woman, let's give you something that will enhance
Feminine roles.
you get it, that will enhance the assumed responsibilities and qualities of you. You see, we are doing all these without really thinking through that we ourselves are pushing ourselves in certain areas without unknowingly. Unknowingly. Look, we assume men are so strong.
But if we have to move forward as a continent, as a country, we need to take conscious effort to address these gaps, isn't it?
The conscious effort is to see both a man and a woman from an equity glass.
Okay, I'll be taking a quick break here. And when I come back, we'll be looking at more of the corporate world. We'll be looking at politics. I understand that in the previous parliament, the immediate past parliament, we had 29 females. But as we speak now, we have 35. So we've had some kind of increment. And we'll get to talk more about this. I'll be right back.
See. Izolesitombe sitilizutamolo. Izolesitombe sitilizutamolo.
If you always keep your money in your wallet. Hey, Afatogbe.
Photo Messi.
Apume.
Yamina Adam was say.
Afume baby.
Share. About money, man. My boy, mu.
Hey.
Hey. Papa and Kobo. Hey. You see it? Yellow card. You see it? That card.
Ah, referee. I'm when you cry.
Oh, maybe you're going.
Oh, I'm when you cry. I GM mobile money. Ariaba. Akita afun bafu. Another baby. So I admire my GM mobile money. A percentage na abanyano. I baby. Maybe here I register now. Star 712 hash. I register here.
Ice. Oh, damn.
Afatogbe.
Photo Messi. Photo Messi. One papa. Yamin shop. Don't show baby. Baby, no shame in your
GN Mobile Money, total convenience.
Floods are caused when it rains heavily for a long time without stopping. Meeting the Akraba na the trucks my hair to Akraba. Afi Mijina class 4, more 41 years. More year one ba. More one benu. Penino wo me 15 years. Akraba no 2 years.
I be do about school. I just list. No akwa to 20 books simple.
We are sena e won say bi amboa wa oda wan kase boa.
Me treat them, me treat them from any.
So, woman won't work out. That's one answer. Me treat.
And bra mo kun start school no. And now I am a fair kakra. Every mo asrobo na mampo no I am say bi no so asrobo na mo boefu.
Many cities and towns in Ghana experience floods whenever there are heavily rains that
If you always keep your money in your wallet.
Hey, Afatogbe.
Afodo Messi.
Apume.
Yamina Adam was say.
Afume baby.
Shay. About money, man. My boy, me.
Hey.
Hey. Often Cabo. Hey. Easy. Yellow card. Easy. That card.
Ah, referee. I'm when you cry.
Oh, maybe you're going.
I'm when you cry. I GM mobile money. Ariaba. Akita afun baku. Another baby. So I admire my GM mobile money. A percentage na abanyano. I baby. Maybe here about register. *712#. I register here.
Ice. Oh, dear.
Obodo
Messi. Obodo Messi. One papa. Yamin shop. Don't should be baby. National
GN Mobile Money. Total convenience.
He's a lazy town, Messi, lazy town. Oh, no. Fee. He's a lazy town, Messi, lazy town. Oh, no.
You're welcome back. This is Global Dialogue, and we are live on Ocean One Television and on Ahunka 99.5 FM, all from the Republic of Elmina. Tonight, we are looking at the subject, gender equity and rights of women in Africa. My guest in the studio, Mrs. Araba Dennis, Executive Director, African Women International, is an NGO, and Mr. Kofi Mafo is also a counselor with the African Women International. We also have in the studio Mrs. Naima Beidu Ahmed. She is from the UK. She runs a very serious NGO. Before I close, I'll be taking a few stuff from her. But let's come back to the issue of education, then we can move to governance. How do you think presently we are preparing that African girl to aspire to leadership position? Where do I start from, Mr. Mafo?
Well,
that African girl.
Yes, the African girl
who is assertive,
who has been dominated, who has been bombarded by tradition that she is just fit for the kitchen by the system through our socialization. How do you get this overbeaten person out of the doldrum?
That is why I'm asking you.
Yes, and I'm going to answer you. What we need to do actually is to go back and trace where we went wrong. Let's get this woman, this person who by virtue of her biological makeup is called a woman, a human being. Let's try and go back there and look at the innate properties, the innate possibilities that such a person can bring on board. And not just because that person has been endowed with some biological things that makes her be known as woman. When we do that, then that socialization which went against her can be reversed through that same format called education. You see, when you are at home, in most of our African traditional setups, the roles that we are talking of, a boy should not be sweeping, should not be going to the boiler to throw rubbish there.
Washing dishes.
Washing dishes. The cooking is even out, because when you do that, you are doing the job of a woman, a girl. And you grow to be a girl. You behave like a girl. Be a man.
That is it. Be a man.
Be a man. That is what we tell them. When a girl goes out to play, try to exercise her innate properties. And there is a mishap. She comes home and the mother says, "Why did you go there? Didn't you know it was boys who were playing and you should have been helping me in the kitchen?" what are we doing to that child? We are telling that child that you don't belong to outside there. When they are taking decision, you don't belong there. You belong here. And so that child grows up with that socialized thinking that I don't belong. Just talking about maths and all those things. We are trying to develop something we call problem-based learning in the teaching of maths and science. Do you know that simple cooking in the kitchen is science? And cooking just beans. You do biology, you do physics, you do chemistry. And if you are using the electric cooker in a modernized home, you are doing engineering. I mean, it's so funny. But still, we refuse to recognize that the best scientists are women because they have been practicing science from the position that we have put them. Mathematics. Why do we continue saying that girls cannot do mathematics? Where did it come from? Because they do maths in the kitchen. They know that this tuber of yam, when I cut it into pieces and this number, it can take care of 5 people in the family. What mathematics is more than that?
They do this without putting pen to paper.
Nothing. No rule to it, no math set, no calculator. But they do it.
When it is well cooked, they know that.
They know this food
without
will feed this number of people. They know. What is mathematics? Is that mathematics in books
y,
or what?
They call it 3.
But that is what they did. X plus Y is what they do in cooking. Convert it, and you realize that is X plus Y. And that is what they have done. So from where did we come to even pick the fact that a woman cannot do math, a woman cannot do this? And who brought that?
And since we are talking about gender, I think that somehow unconsciously we've also blocked certain men from taking up certain roles that we believe is the preserve of women. For instance, you take catering. We have some excellent chefs. But because they told them no, that is the arena for women.
Who told them? Who told them? It is the same block that we use. Sometimes when you think of digging a hole for your enemy, try and dig 2 because it will come back. And that is what Norway is experiencing now. The women are on top and the men are feeling it.
In Norway?
Yes. Because the men thought that, oh, we are on top, we are on top. And glad worry, the women have also fought and they are on top there. They have refused to give birth. So they are suffering with their workforce structure. They are not paying them to give birth. You know, and that is what
recently appointed Minister for Sex.
Oh yes,
Nigeria.
I think Spain.
Spain.
Minister responsible for sex
because
to ensure that men have a lot of sex so pregnancy can come.
They are refusing because you have sat on them for so long. They are human beings. I mean, it's sad. That is why I always keep on saying that it's a sad aspect when I am a man, I come and sit down and I'm talking about women as if they are different type of human beings. We shouldn't be even talking about it if you really know what we are doing. Look, I was telling Naima that even Chaka the Zulu, that prominent warrior, how to handle a spear, he was taught by the mother. How to be a king, he was taught by the mother. How to rule, he was taught by the mother. But the mother's name is not mentioned anywhere. So along that line, who are the role models for the women? So that they can say that we can also aspire to be this. We have consciously obliterated their production level to the extent that women think that I have been made to think I am good for the kitchen. I am for nurse. When, as we are sitting here, if somebody says a doctor is coming, unconsciously, you'll be looking out to see a man. Mention a secretary is coming. You'll be looking for a female. A nurse is coming.
A female.
So when you say a chef is coming, Unconsciously, because of our socialization, we'll be looking for a woman. But the best chefs are men. And do you know something? Traditionally, the great chiefs, their cooks were women, were men. You know that?
I can remember Egypt.
Thank you. So it is something that we have done to ourselves, and we think that there is every opportunity for us to break down, and we can use the same education, the same system of education to reverse it.
Naima, talking about how to help the young lady, they seem to have certain challenges that their male counterparts do not have. For instance, today the debate is about ordinary sanitary pad for young girls who have attained that, and it's difficult. Some have to stay out of school, and then when you grow, you get to the corporate world, you have to give birth, so you would be forced to stay out of work 2-3 months. Some countries have made policies regulating that, but in a country where those laws are non-existent, it becomes difficult for a private entrepreneur to hire a woman to head his or her institution. How do you address this one?
You see, that's where the conversation or identifying the difference between equity and equality becomes extremely important. Because the truth is, whilst within our homes, we need to change so many toxic narratives.
Toxic
narratives, yes. And I love that word.
It is toxic narrative because we've conditioned the mind to say, this is for a man, this is for a woman. And for a woman, if you are in this period, you are dirty. You don't have to do this. And as much as you are dirty, you do not have to do certain things. And the brain is powerful to the extent that whilst we keep absorbing this over years, even when you give us the freedom, we still have that innate war. Look, every woman has that strong war that we fight within ourselves, depending on where you're coming from, to be able to come out. So when you meet a very powerful woman who have been able to make it up there, you need to assume that she has been able to fight the most difficult of wars inherently for her to be able to come out. Because if she comes from a society where society looks at her as a second-class person, she has to be able to fight that perception to say, no, I'm not a second-class person. I can do better. And then if she has been able to go through a science field, which is a male-dominated field, know that she has been able to fight an inherent war to say, no, this is not a male-dominated field. I can do better. And then I've done it. And then if she's able to rise through the ranks to a position of, say, CEO or CEO or director, then know that she has gone through the ranks fighting inherently before coming out for you to see the qualities within her, for you to choose. So again, it comes back to unlearning all these toxic narratives to say, it's not a question of when you grow up, what will you be? It's when you grow up, what can you change?
When you grow up,
what can you change? Because when you assume, oh, I'm looking at this microphone, the way the microphone is hanging, if I'm able to do a tag of a brooch for it to be able to transmit, it could be very powerful. Then my condition is such that I'm going to look at the scientific background, the equipment, the tools, the properties, what can I do, what can't I do to be able to turn a hanging microphone to a brooch to make work effective, because this is already occupying space. So I'm going to use my life worth, a matter of 5 years, to do this. That is why within the developed countries you have inventors, you have people coming up with so many inventions. Because the question was not, when you grow up, what will you be? But then, what can I change? So Einstein is thinking about, this is what I can change. I'm looking at these equations. I can do something about it. I can tweak this and then turn it into something. And then a young guy, 8 years, from Russia, is looking at the same equation and thinking, there is something within this loop. I can do something better.
So that is how they have been conditioned.
You get it. So it's the conditioning of the mind. So while someone is being conditioned to do better, we are here telling a young girl, yours is to cook, yours is to stay in the kitchen. So for her to be able to come out and look at, say, a phone in a different eye, she would have to fight with a whole family line, blockchains to say, I can be better and I can think different. So that is one. The second thing that you asked was, for most of our women, what then can we do different within our societal bring up, right? Whilst we are learning all these toxic definitions of what a woman and a woman can do, the position then is, as a woman, what can I do for myself? Because there is a saying that if you can't beat them,
join them.
You join them. You see, the difference between the earlier feminists is different from the feminists we have now.
Okay.
Because the juxtaposition was, we see men as competitors.
Equality.
So we need to go on them hard. So that's why Doc or Mr. Mafu will talk about, in Norway, women are deciding not to give birth because the whole angle was, I'm not going to kowtow to the subject of a man. I'm equal to him. And because I'm equal to him, I can do anything a man can do.
And that's also devilish.
You see, so the initial conversation then should have come to the equation of equity.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the genetic makeup of a woman is far different from the genetic makeup of a man. So when you put a man and a woman in the same field of the corporate world, know that every month, if she has endometriosis,
what is that?
The pain associated with menses and all that, it means she'll be asking you at least 2 days off every month. You get it? Not because she wants to ask you 2 days off,
free of,
but naturally, per the pains that she is going through, you have to be humane enough to give her that opportunity. And that is when you look at it from an equity glass. Before
and it
you
also comes with childbirth.
Exactly. And then she's been pregnant for 9 months, giving birth. You
During
can't
those
tell
pregnancy, productivity would be affected.
But that does not necessarily means when she's not pregnant, she can't function. So whilst we are looking at, do we give women the opportunities? This is what other men are looking at. The men within the boardrooms are looking at, because as a manager you're looking at productivity. I don't want my business to fall back, and they are thinking through the business glass.
Yes, it's about GDP.
You get it. It's natural. As a businessman, I'm looking at profitability, productivity,
and of course you have to go back home and cook for your husband.
Exactly. So then again, if you can't beat them, you go to the drawing table. We need to unlearn all these toxic narratives, redefine what can we do and do better. Because look, a woman can function in the 3 weeks out of a month probably than a man.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be coming to this. Before we come to the way forward, we want to look at politics in Africa. And how is it that women are not able to excel? Of course, in the almighty United States of America, they've never produced a female president. But Africa has produced about two. Two. Malawi had one, and then Liberia one. So Africa can boast of two female presidents. UK,
UK they had Thatcher,
UK can boast of about two prime ministers.
Thatcher has been there, and
very powerful women.
Yeah.
And the Queen. But the US, no way. If we'll give it to a woman, let's give it to an African. How is it that in politics, especially in Africa, women are unable to excel?
Thank you very much.
I know this is your area.
No, but
so
before she
sad.
even comes in, I think when you say unable, you are not being fair. Naima was just talking about equity. Have we been equitable in all spheres so that we can judge them that they have not been unable?
Well, where I see it, I'm supposed to be asking the question.
Yes, I know.
Let me answer this. Where I see it, okay, we've seen men very active on the political terrain.
Yes.
Let's finish this program. Let's activate the phone line.
Yes.
You will see the number of women who call as against the number of men. So it tells you that already in Africa, women have given up.
It really tells
I
you.
disagree with you.
It really.
If there is somebody here
I disagree with
who
you.
will be
on
blocking
so
the calls
many-
of women, then you would agree with me that, oh, okay, we have been very, very, we have dealt with women, you know. But then the opportunity is there for all of them to come on. And women are not.
Before
because they say, oh,
Mrs.
this is a terrain for women.
I disagree with you on so many levels.
Completely.
And before Mrs. comes in to answer you, look, before a woman stands for, say, a member of parliament, the first question people are looking at is she married?
Is she married?
Is she a marriage material?
We
Is
have
she
women there. But we still have women there.
I'm
Wait,
giving you.
she
Look,
is
you talked about it's 270 something members. 75, and out of it,
just
we
about
have
12,
35.
12%.
As opposed to Rwanda, which has about
64%
or 64%.
Yes.
Because they have
Right.
a law.
It's not about the law. We also have the law. You see, it's not a matter of who we are going to select women to come. They all contest and then they win.
That is the
it's a
problem.
matter of you being able to be able to. You see, if we don't take care, the whole conversation we are having years down the line, and I think within the black community within UK, that is what they are facing. We've positioned the whole conversation on women empowerment. Let's look at our women, and years down the line, we've neglected our sons, and then sons are now engaging in drugs and stabbing. Just this year, about 30 young boys stabbed to death. So look, if we don't take care, as much as we are talking about this, years down the line, we will be coming back to say, where are our men?
Okay. All right. So, African women in politics.
Yeah. To pick from where Naima just, if you look at the African and Ghana for that matter in politics, I would say that we've not done much for our women, because when it comes to a position that we have to,
allow women
to, we fight with the men the same level. It's not like in this political party, if they are asking for amount that they pay to go for their filing fees, the same amount. It's recently that they try to reduce it, but where will the woman get that money?
We have created women organizer positions for them.
Oh,
the political party.
Because the name woman is there.
Even now, some
that is
men
why
are
they even
contesting
want to
those
contest us.
positions.
Yes. But the positions should be open for the women so that they can also go in for. But here's the case. Look at the woman's salary. The petty trader. Where will she get that money to go in and file for that, pick that nomination form and file for?
Some of them try to raise funds, so the men said, we have to sleep with you to sponsor
Exactly. You know it. This is what is happening.
But nobody tells the man, sleep with me
before
I
give you that money. And they have to fight with the men before they get that position. And I am saying that if we give the woman the chance also to move in there, we will see a very big difference in our political arena.
How would you be calling for equity and still be asking for preferential treatment?
I think we are not asking for preferential treatment. I still come back to the conversation of equity and then equality. And you need to look at what exactly you are talking about and how you are positioning your conversation. The point is, you've not created a level ground for us to be conversing or talking about equity. Madam just talked about the trader who is very conversant with the community and will be able to push the agenda of the community. All she earns is 50 Ghana cedis a month. A political party is asking for 500 million. Where is she going to get that 500 million to contest on the ticket of that political party?
And they know the woman don't have.
You get it. And the person who has the money, just as you said yourself, is asking her, for me to be able to give you that money, I have to sleep with you. Without even assessing, will this woman be able to push the agenda of my community? So all of us are failing as a community to look at, can this person perform? And that is why Ghana is what it is at the moment. We have certain people within certain political spheres, not because they can do it, but simply because they are at an advantaged point. They are simply at an advantage point. And the very people who can really push the agenda of the country do not have that kind of advantage. So we need to go back to the drawing table. We need to reassign the conversation of equity of women and then the rights of women.
I see. Madam, you've been working with women in Africa and for that matter Ghana for some time now. How do you see this call for women to come together and push this voice to the powers that be so that they can work on this? Because the narrative you hear is, oh, we are sensitive to women. We've appointed a chief justice who is a woman. We have appointed this one who is a woman. We have appointed that one who is a woman. And the person they have appointed knew nothing to next about the plight of the woman at Kotokraba Market, who has the ideas but is yearning for that platform to get up there and contribute to the national debate.
I think, if I should say, we've now started from the grassroots level. Yeah, but better late than never.
Okay.
We've started from the grassroots level because we believe that if we, the women at the grassroots level come together to rally behind their fellow women, I mean, we will be able to push them forward. And from the community level, we get to the regional level, then to the national. Gradually we will get there, but we need a woman to be on board. Seriously. And when we see a woman vying for this position, let's try and encourage them. Even the men should also come in and encourage the women to move forward. When it comes to I just want to look at the grassroots level, the unit committee and all. That is where we start from. You don't just get up and go and take a position at the national level. No, do the little that you can at your own, catchment area. Just do something small.
Do you think this affirmative action bill currently in Parliament is going to see?
It has delayed. It has delayed far too long.
Why do you feel that government, past and present, are unable to push for this law?
You know, they are afraid.
What are they
Seriously,
afraid of?
they are afraid when they push it, the women will come forward. They are afraid because it's been there for so many years. Government will come and go, this will come and go, but it's still there. They've not pushed it.
Ghana has never had any female vice president.
Never.
Okay, you have a speaker and chief justice, so that's okay.
It's not okay.
The critical mass, Mr. Mafu.
Yes.
The ordinary women, as Naima said, with the ideas, who can contribute to the national discourse, they are down there. Unfortunately, sometimes when you send these messages to them, the apathy, they are not willing to come on board. They see, especially if you're in high hello, they don't want to get information that would empower them. The African woman is, I don't know, they've given up.
Okay.
Especially the majority down there.
They
see the educated woman as too known. You belong to your class. You don't belong here. So getting them together has become difficult. How do we break this guy?
You see, no matter how you look at those animals that we are trying to study, it still goes back to me. It goes back to where we are coming from. You see, countries are made up of societies. Societies come from families. How is the family setup that we all generate from before we get up there? How is it dealing with this? Woman is this, a man is this dichotomy down there. The roles that society is ascribing to a man and a woman, how are we dealing it down there?
Family level.
Yes. You see, Naima went at length to tell you about how to build confidence in a girl. From that word go, the day you give birth to that girl, let that girl know that when it comes to decision making, I, by my biological makeup, have something to contribute. And so in the family, when there is a meeting, invite your wife who has a child on her lap. That child will start from there. So you don't wait for that child to grow up, even passing school system. When it comes to positions in school, even primary school, they don't look for a girl. It's only girls prefer that you get a girl. But GP, I've never seen a girl with a GP. Let me tell you a story. At my former school of mines, until recently, there was no girl or woman who was picked or allowed to do a course in mining.
Okay.
And you know why? The system said that when women go underground, they won't give birth. Until recently, globally, sports was the domain of men, because when a woman gets involved, she won't get to deliver. She won't be able to deliver.
Society is thinking of how to procreate.
But we don't have to wait for them to get there, and by virtue of divine providence, they decide that no matter what you say, I will push in and go there. Let's start getting them from down there. Then they will build that confidence that I am also a human being. Look, if you have worked in the communities, when you get to a village and you want to facilitate a project, meet the men and ask them what they need for the community. They will tell you about football park. They will tell you about a community center where they can have meetings and all that. Meet the women. The women will tell you, we want to have a market. We want to have a borehole.
Water.
You see, what women think is about human beings. They don't think about women. They think about all of us. Probably because they are in charge of all of us. But even that, we haven't recognized it. That women are actually in charge.
For humanity.
They think for humanity.
Men think for men.
For men. So if you are moving up and you think that you should leave this important component of you behind, and you have been doing it, you haven't seen any results, why don't you go back to the basis? Go back down to the basis and prop them up. Through education, look, when you have a steady family, a healthy family, it's not you, the man. It is the work of the woman.
All right, we have activated the phone lines. You can call in and then let's have your say. 020-7566-185. 020-7566-185. You can call in and then let us have your say on this subject, gender equity and rights of women in Africa. With me in the studio this evening, Mrs. Naima Bedu and Mr. Kofi Mafo, as well as Mrs. Araba Davis. You can also call Dennis.
Can you
020-7566.
Do you remember Liberia?
Johnson Sirleaf.
That was a woman. She was a woman, isn't it? Do you know that people who destroyed Liberia? They're the men.
The men destroyed Liberia.
Yes, they
and
fought.
The woman came together
and has reconstructed Liberia. And all this, we are not learning from it.
Just wanted to add something briefly. I think from a political perspective, I think we haven't been very observant enough.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying that is, on that, I do disagree a bit with what's
Okay, let me pick this call. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Your name and where you calling from?
Hello, good evening.
Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Kelly. I'm calling from Yarifa.
Oh, Yarifa, let's hear you. Let's hear you. Go ahead.
I'm very happy for the program.
Don't listen on the TV. Put off the TV.
The women who see themselves like
just lower the volume of your TV set so you listen to me on the telephone, okay? Good. Now you can talk to me.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. My contribution is that the women who see themselves as educated person right now, if they got married and they wanted to see their position as a high person, how do we see that one?
Come again with your question. Hello. Did you get the import of the question?
I'm saying that some of the women who have been able to go to school and their education background is higher than the men's.
Okay.
Then they wanted to show themselves that they are in the position, they are in control for everything.
I see. We get it now. I know Naima would want to respond to this one, but you can also call 020-7566-185. 020-7566-185. Those of you watching on television, the number is on your screen. But for those of you listening on radio and online, 020-7566-185. Good evening. Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Kofi Akra, calling from Cape Coast.
Hey, Kofi, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir.
Good. You're welcome. Go ahead with your submission.
Okay. This subject matter being discussed is quite intriguing. Despite that we've been lying to ourselves for a long time. I would like to say that the equality that women seek between themselves and men is a mirage. It will never happen. It has never happened. And it will never happen. I would like to say that again. In the sense that if you look at the Christian story, or if you look at prehistoric records that we have, or you look at the output of women recently, or the productivity of women recently, there's no way you can compare a woman to a man. Naturally, how women are supposed to be doesn't give them the edge to compare themselves to a man. And just like you were discussing, they seem to want a preference or some kind of advantage for them to rub shoulders with men. But it's a mirage. There will never be equality between man and woman. When there's chance for them to prove their equity, then it should be given the chance so that they prove themselves and go ahead with what they want to do. But for them to think we should all come to an equilibrium, it will never happen. Thank you.
Kofi, why do you think that it will never happen? Well, Kofi's gone. I wanted to go into Kofi's mind, but the issue about educated women who are more educated than their husbands, displaying that. How do you respond to that, Naima?
I think marriage on one part is a matter of two people who are in love coming together and then understanding themselves. When you love someone, it's not a matter of what certificates do you have, what education do you have. You look far beyond that. There's so many examples of a professor marrying a pauper. Or that's when I say a professor, a woman professor marrying a man who has never been to school. So when you say, oh, some of the women who are so educated, when they come into, how do I say it, relationship, they want to control everything. You need to look at it from an individual perspective. And the reason I'm saying individual perspective is probably the kind of conversation they are having is rubbing shoulders for all this to happen. The man is looking at what can you bring to the table? What are you bringing into the relationship? And when you tend to be asking a woman that, then she'll probably be showing off, this is what I'm bringing to the table. I'm bringing my education, I'm bringing my bank accounts, which is worth da 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 da. What are you also bringing to the table?
I am tempted to also think, for instance, in the case of Ghana, some women who have been given this opportunity, you know, have not been able to prove themselves. And they are giving us that indication.
You see,
and we have recent developments, especially in politics.
Della.
Yes.
Initially, I told you about unlearning these toxic narratives. And the toxic narratives are that when a woman finds herself in certain positions, she needs to prove her worth. And proving her worth is behaving like a man. Because a man is looked at as an epitome of the social ladder. And when a man is in a position,
that's no wrong.
That's no wrong.
Okay. You can reach us now on 020-7566-185. The lines are still open. 020-7566-185. And we'll be happy to hear your take on the subject.
So if a man does no wrong and a woman occupies the same position, then we tend to look at her from a different lens.
Okay.
That is our problem as a society.
Okay, let me pick this call.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Mr. Lyons calling from Texas.
Let's hear you.
Yes, I'm very happy with the kind of show you have on this evening. And I just want to contribute in a small way.
All right.
You know, in our society, the government and all individuals around, we recognize that we don't have level fields for everybody. That is why, for instance, we have foundations like scholarships for poor but intelligent people, to give them a good level, to give them a good platform to be able to compete with the others who have more resources. And when we go to buildings or infrastructures with good facilities, you might find wheelchair ramps for the disabled. Now, we find two things common in this situation. The first thing is that in those situations, the victims all have potentials. You recognize that they have potential. So if you give them a lift, if you give them an enabling environment, they can do something good for the society. The second is that they don't all have equal opportunities. They don't all have equal resources. So they need to be given more than they have to be able to offer what they can with their capabilities. In the same way, we also realize and we must see that women don't have equal opportunities with men in our country, in Africa as a continent. In the same way, we have to create the enabling environment and give them that wheelchair ramp. It doesn't mean that women are disabled, no. And it doesn't mean giving them a helping hand or an extra hand means that it's provision, no. It's only enabling environment for them to come to.
Can you position
focus and give more attention to that too?
Thank
you very much.
Your name again?
company, please.
What's your name?
Mr. Lions.
From where?
From Cape Coast.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution. You can also call 020-7566-185. 020-7566-185. I think Mr. Lion has spoken your mind, as we say in Nigerian palace. Hello, good evening. Hello,
good evening.
Your name and where you calling from?
Kofi Akra, Cape Coast.
Kofi. I wanted to find out from you, why do you think that all this thing is a mirage?
Because if you look at the creation story, God never created woman to be like a man. So that starting point even proves that man should never think that they are supposed to be like a man or to function like a man. And if you look at the records of history, the productivity that both genders have been providing to the ether itself, women have never done anything better than a man or to surpass a man by quantity or by quality. So it is also an unbelievable thing to think that a woman is to be like a man.
Kofi.
And yes, please.
But you remember the Liberian story?
Exactly where I was coming. I heard my senior colleagues saying that women think about human and men think about men. I beg to differ. I beg to differ in the sense that who even provides for the woman? Who protects the woman?
Okay.
So that alone disproves the fact that women think about human and men think about men. Men rather think about women and think about men as well. And women also do the same since they give birth. But we need to understand that nature has made it that we will never be equal. So if it is equity, then we should think about equity, that when there is an opportunity for a man and a woman to compete, to proceed with something, then they allow the one who wins to continue, rather than thinking we should be equalized. That's where I want, and that it's never so, and it will never be so.
All right, thank you very much. My panel here will respond to, very interesting analysis from Kofi Akra. 020-7566-185. You can also call in and let's hear your contribution to the debate on the table. And
I think Kofi more or less is in our camp. What he's saying is
how
that
he ended it with the equity.
Where he started and ended.
Kofi is still in your campaign.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about equality.
Let
We
me
haven't
ask
spoken
you
about
this issue about matrilineal inheritance. And then we also talk about bride price in Africa.
Yes.
Elsewhere in the UK, I don't think people pay bride price, do they?
It depends. It depends on the culture.
Really?
And the reason I'm saying it depends is that even within UK, there are different cultures.
Yeah.
Right. So depending on where the family is coming from will determine the practices and procedures of your marriage. But under normal circumstance, when an English girl is going to get married, there is a massive support from the father who makes sure that the marriage ceremony and everything is done to perfection.
Okay.
So you
from the
hear
girl's father.
From the girl's father.
The man is not charged. My daughter has completed university,
the man
so you have to pay so
gifts.
much. You have to buy so and so much because he's a graduate.
But the
this
man
one completed
comes,
SHS, so
but the man comes bearing gifts.
Bearing gifts.
Gifts.
Which is not charged.
No. The man comes bearing
so
gifts.
you see where we are also getting it wrong.
You see, it's
we have
society.
a beautiful culture where we present drinks, but today that has changed. So when some men go through all these rituals and pay all these huge sums of money, sometimes borrowing money from the bank, frustration sets in, and then the women becomes the object of those beatings.
That is why I'm sorry, but that's why initially...
A man is in jail right now because he borrowed money from a bank to do his wedding. After the wedding, he's jailed, and the lady is home.
Della, When we say having the conversation around politics and then women, I told you to some extent I quite did disagree with what Madam was saying. And the point is, when it gets to a point that it benefits us, we are happy as women.
Yes.
We are happy as women. That you have a man who is coming to marry you with 10 suitcases of clothes and jewelry and everything.
That's the priority.
We are not even questioning.
No.
We are not questioning the stance of, is he coming to buy me or not? But then when it gets to a point where the man is not able to bring, and then we start having the conversation of, is it bride price? Is he coming to marry me? So who the cap fits, let him wear. And the same thing comes to the whole political conversation. That I think, and this is my personal opinion, it's not a matter of we need to give women position. So let's look for a woman to give a position to. It's a matter of who can best
serve that
competence.
Who is competent enough to. So when you then ask the question, who is competent enough, then we start to screen. 20 people came, but only 18 people, only 2 people are women. Then you realize there is a problem. Why are we not having enough women to come forward to present themselves? And I think that's where we need to look at the problem. It's not a matter of, because we are saying we need women, percentages of women in position, any woman who comes up, we should take the person. No, it's a matter of competency. Otherwise, what you talked about earlier, that we've given women position, but they seem to kind of disappoint us, we will be singing that kind of song.
So
because we are not looking
women
at...
are not even given those positions based on merit.
Not necessarily.
Some.
Not necessarily. But what I'm trying to say is, if we are basing it on an argument of competence, and not necessarily, oh, we need women to fill the equation, then we will have women who have the competence to make us proud. Who will be able to change the narrative to a point that, oh, within this position, we had this woman who was able to turn the story around. So we should start looking at a caliber of such woman to fill that position.
I see. This is Global Dialogue, and we are live on Ocean One Television and on Ahunka 99.5 FM, all from the Republic of Elmina in the Central Region. And tonight we're talking about gender equity and the right of women in Africa. And of course, the discussion so far so very good. But then we've not addressed this guy's question very well. I know you want to Kofi's question.
I want you to clap for Kofi. In fact, like
but
I was saying,
in the meantime, you can still keep your calls coming. 020-7566-185. 020-7566-185. Let's see.
Yes, Kofi started on a wrong footing because we are not even talking about women or gender equality. We are talking about equity. Okay.
You know, the debate around gender.
Yes.
I think when we started, we got it wrong.
Yes. Now we have moved from there. And we are not even discussing on equality. We are talking about equity.
People are still there.
Yes, so they should follow us now.
Okay.
It's equity. Like the other gentleman was talking about. I mean, women have never said they want to be equal to men.
No.
Never. There's no literature that supports that.
What about Emisa's assertion that just as we have created scholarship for...
Yes, that is equity.
Okay.
That's equity. The affirmative action, that is what it means. That, okay, we recognize that we are not like you. In all spheres of life, we are different. Biologically, we are different. Now, certain things happen which we can't blame you, the men. We have been left behind. So please, help us
to
also
be on the same level.
To contribute for the development of mankind, as we say. That is what women are talking about.
Has there been any evidence to support the fact that the inclusion of women in decision making, especially in politics, has contributed to the development of a nation?
I thousands.
There are so many uncountable ones. I mean, look, if let's even come to contemporary Ghana. Okay. We have 12% in parliament, women.
35 out of 275.
Yes, that's about 12 point something percent, but they are human beings, so it's about 12%. Okay. Now, without sounding too superfluous, okay, these women in parliament, 12%, and Ghana hasn't progressed to where we want it to be.
But even the 12% in parliament, how well have they represented the interests of women?
So that is where I'm coming from. You see,
they are representing their political parties.
Let's even drop the parties or where they represent. We are talking about Ghana.
International Women's Day, they wear the same clothing and take pictures.
We are talking about
when it comes to issues.
Yes.
Sorry.
Go on. I'll come back.
Because Ghana's societal conversation paramounts political conversation more than gender conversations. That when you go to parliament, what MPP decides or NDC decides within their caucus meetings supersedes what will affect a woman or not.
Okay.
Yeah. We shouldn't overlook that.
How do we change that order?
I'm saying this to buttress a point here, that when we start having the whole conversation of and then what?
Okay,
and
let
then
me pick
what?
this call. I'll be right back. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. You are an good evening caller. I think it's not ready. Yeah.
I'll give you realistic examples. 2016 elections. NDC had women's wing. MPP had women's wing. And you could see the activities of these women's wing going to grassroots levels to canvass for votes. And that contributed massively to the win of MPP. So when you say that we do not have women contributing massively, you then have to ask yourself, why do these politicians keep going to the marketplace?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Your name and where you calling from?
Please, this is Felix.
Felix, where are you calling from? Oh, Felix, position yourself very well and talk to us. Oh, Felix, your line is so bad. Unfortunately, time is far gone and I didn't even realize that. We can't pick any more of your calls. But, so you mean the women contribute down there?
I just wanted to give you two examples. Aside the election, recently there was a CJA case involving the Marine.
Mr. has a call. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Your name and where you calling from?
Hello.
Hello, your name and where you calling from?
Yes.
Your line is still bad. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, my point is, women of today are more or less interested in competing with men in all aspects of life. It is just that they are not interested in order to explain things better off. But if you look at the way now things are happening of late, women are more interested to show that they would have loved to occupy all places that men have been taken up. But then they cannot do things like the way men can do things. Is that my point?
I see.
Right.
Thank you very much for your comments, and we can't pick any more calls. Our time is spent. It's 9 o'clock already. I didn't realize it because I was deep in this conversation.
It's
sitting for the past 2 hours, and so Mrs. Naima, I still owe you another slot because I still want to know what is happening in the UK and what you do briefly.
So I have an organization.
My producer says I can pick a few calls.
Okay.
Right. Go ahead.
So there is an organization called Africa Alternative Energy Initiative, where we do promote alternative energy across board within the African continent. So it's mainly promoting Sustainable Development Goal 7, which is about affordability, clean and accessible energy for all. So it's not a matter of you just being able to have just oil and gas, but looking at the alternatives. And then that comes with a whole lot of conversations of what do we have within the rural setup, what don't we have within the rural setup, the kind of dialogue that we have, because within the international level, others are looking at going way or away from fossil fuel. But then there are lots of African countries that are now discovering oil and gas. So what then becomes our position? And then we are also looking at local content, that on paper we do have policies that do promote local content, but go to Takoradi and see, do we have the very needed people, the setup skills? So that's what we do as an organization, mainly advocacy and then investment dialogue.
You're going to join other women. And next week, we're going to have you talk to us more about this. This is where the road ends this evening. I've been talking to Mrs. Naima Ahmed-Bedu, African Alternative Energy Initiative. That's where she works. In the UK, she's in Ghana, and we want to keep her here for some time before she goes back. Mr. Kofi Mafo is a counselor, a very interesting one. So if you need his services, see me. He's so exciting. He makes it very, very practical. And of course, Mrs. Araba Dennis. She is the Executive Director of African Women International. My name is Deladem Gisei. Kudos to my producer, Adelaide Asempa, waiting to start her national service here in Cape Coast. And of course, my team of cameramen, Kakra Emmanuel, the captain himself. And for those of you at the studios of Ahunkara 99.5 FM, Peter Ate, Omahene Kwamiado, I say thank you very much. Until same time next week, keep it safe and avoid a bullet from the police. Bye.
Awuzwe.